when you have like random 16-year-olds getting into crypto on their phones
Yeah.
and investing their like allowance in that, like that, to me, that seems like something might be wrong. It kind of reminds me of when I lived in Florida during the housing bubble. And, I was working at Starbucks and one of my fellow baristas bought a house. Like that to me was like a leading indicator.
Welcome to AFO Wealth Management Forward, a podcast about finance, accounting, technology, and entrepreneurship. We apply our decades worth of experience and insight into what makes businesses work so we can help others grow both personally and professionally. In this ever-evolving marketplace, we help accounting firms and financial advisors grow their practice through the adoption of holistic wealth management services. Learn from industry leaders and subject matter experts to unlock the secrets of their success. A podcast that shows people and companies the transformative power of technology so they don't fear it, but instead harness it. Don't fight the robots, team up with them. And here are your hosts, Rory Henry, Director of Business Development, and CEO Rob Santos of Arrowroot Family Office.
Hi, everyone. Rob and I are being joined by Blake Oliver, Director of Marketing at Giraffe, which is an all-in-one financial planning and analysis solution. Blake is a CPA, and in 2019 was named to the top 100 most influential people list by Accounting Today. Blake specializes in cloud accounting and is a co-host of the Cloud Accounting Podcast, a weekly news update for accountants and bookkeepers. Blake, welcome to the show.
Rory, thanks for having me. Hi, Rob. Hi, Rory.
Yeah, no, super excited. And by the way, I see you were the co-founder of Cloud Sourced Accounting, and I think we were actually a client of yours in 2013 in that kind of vintage. So
really,
yeah.
Oh wow. So wait, we were serving your firm, or okay?
Yeah, in the early days, we were looking for firms that were Xero certified, and you guys were one of the ones that popped up. So I think we used you in the early days.
Wow, that's really cool to hear.
Yeah. So we'll just kick off. So Blake, one of the first topics we wanted to talk to you about is the changing landscape of accounting firms that we're seeing in 2021. Have you observed any trends that accounting firms are making to prepare for the kind of post-COVID world out there?
That's a great question. It's hard for me to say because I feel like the firms that I talk to are pretty proactive, and a lot of them gained business during COVID. You helped out with PPP, you helped clients with EIDL loans. You've got tighter relationships than ever before. Maybe you're doing planning for them, you're doing forecasting and budgeting now. So those firms are doing great. The ones that just stuck with tax and didn't help with anything else, I think they're suffering. So I don't know a lot of those firms though, and they're probably not listening to your podcast, is what I'm guessing.
Well, you'd be surprised. We've got a program called AFO Wealth Management Forward that's really focused towards accounting firms on kind of how to be more forward facing. And so we're at that kind of forefront of trying to be able to help people to adopt some of those outlooks like you just mentioned.
Got it. Well, if they do know what a podcast is and they're listening, and they didn't get in on PPP and EIDL, then I kind of missed the boat there. I'm just going to be upfront with you on that. I do think that the future of accounting services, tax especially, is being in touch with your clients on a more than annual basis. There's tax planning. This is not something new. I mean, people have been doing tax planning for a long time, wealth management, like combining those two things, getting into doing budgeting, forecasting, providing monthly reporting for clients. I mean, there's so much stuff that we can do now because of technology that we couldn't do before. You can have like this menu of services that you offer. So I guess it kind of depends where they're at, where I recommend people go, right? If you're not doing anything for clients, there's some things. If you're doing bookkeeping already, then there's some things you can do. So I guess the thing is I'm excited about is if I were starting my firm again from scratch, I would have like way too much to choose from. And this is only not that long ago that I started my firm. And when I started it, it was like 2012, there weren't that many things you could do online. Now you can do everything online. And I guess the pandemic helped accelerate that, right? So we've got infinite choices.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that, Blake, AI is automating a lot of the compliance work out there. What do you think the future is between AI and accounting services? What is this industry going to look like moving forward?
So there's a lot of doom and gloom about that. There always has been. I think it's overblown dramatically. The stuff that AI can do today is pretty basic. And in the world of bookkeeping, which is where I come from, we've got these, bots that can now categorize transactions into your general ledger. Okay, that's great. If all you're doing from a bookkeeping perspective is categorizing transactions, yes, you're going to get automated. You're done,
Yeah.
right? But hopefully you're doing a lot more than that is my point of view. And just talk to Siri, oops, I got to mute her right now so I don't set her off. Talk to Alexa and ask them some questions, and you'll see how limited AI is right now. And these are two of the most profitable, powerful companies in the world, and they can't even figure out how to get Alexa to a 4-year-old level, right? So as CPAs, as accountants, and I just triggered it. I need to figure out some sort of code word so that I can talk about this stuff without setting off everyone's devices at home, right? But I'm not sure exactly where I was going with that, but I guess the point is that yes, low level work automated, higher level work not automated, and everything's about planning now. I think that if you're just producing reports for people, that's of limited value, and I think it always was. And what was always high value was the advice that we gave along with it. So that's my advice to people. So in the bookkeeping world, part of the reason I joined my current company, Giraffe, is because we take those historical financial statements and we allow you to forecast them. So taking the exact same thing you were giving to your clients before, where it's just 12 months of historicals, let's give them 12 months of forecast, and here's the present. So we've got both on the same report. That is very valuable. And AI is not going to be able to do that.
Yeah. And, I guess in that similar grain, for accounting firms that we work with and we talk to about, shifting away from just a purely compliance or bookkeeping or just tax return, type of business model, from our perspective, there's ways to be able to increase some of those, diversify some of your revenue streams, but also add some of that high value service that they might be doing. So tax planning, that really leads in quite nicely with financial planning. That also leads really nicely into potential retirement planning. A lot of accountants we have relationships with, when they're filing tax returns, one question they always ask: did you contribute to a retirement plan? Or, have you thought about doing some of those things? So, we really try to tell folks to start walking before they start running. But you mentioned some low hanging fruits there. But what areas do you think that firms could just kind of get started? Where are some of those key areas that would be really great first steps for some of these firms?
So if you're not doing client accounting services or bookkeeping now, the time is now to get into that, I would say. So if you do the books that go into the tax return, if you're preparing that trial balance, you can dramatically reduce the amount of time it takes to work with clients because you have clean data. This was why I was able to sell my bookkeeping firm. I merged with a primarily international tax practice. We did bookkeeping for clients in the US and abroad. And so they were able to offer a holistic service. Let's do your bookkeeping. We'll do personal, we'll do business. We'll also do your taxes. When it comes time to do it at the end of the year, we've already got clean books. And so you're undoing that compression that happens where you have to clean things up from January through April every year. And the realization on the tax work just skyrocketed, right? So I think like focusing on the areas of pain where your practice is compressed in busy season is a really good way to do that. Doing it throughout the year is where I would focus. And it's going to be, I guess, different for every practice, but I always feel like if you control the data, then you can control your own destiny, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. And one follow up there. We're also, and we've talked a few times with other folks on the podcast about the largest generational shift of wealth, in humankind. I think our last podcast interviewee
Silver tsunami.
told us about the silver tsunami of this generational shift. And, we're big believers that adopting cloud technology, new software, automation is, going to be very beneficial to both ends of that tsunami, the older generation and getting better insight, and also the younger generation. Do you have any insight about how kind of these new software solutions are going to be able to help in this transition?
well, our parents just keep living longer and longer. So, that wealth transition, I'm a millennial. I think it's gonna take a long time, right? Medical advances are amazing, so it's gonna delay that, I guess. Uh, uh, so what the question is, help me understand this question.
Yeah.
What are
So,
we trying to figure out?
what we've seen is, or at least has been kind of a lot of folks in the marketplace think older generations don't like technology. They don't like
Right.
software. They're slower adopters, right? But COVID has kind of shown us that push comes to shove, they'll learn how to do it, and if it's to their benefit and transparency, they'll adopt it. In particular, on the other end, the younger generation that is potentially having this transition of wealth or starting to build their own wealth already grew up in a space where they demand these real-time solutions and
Correct. Yes.
transparency. And so, we've been trying to tell accounting firms, you don't need to just focus on either one end of those spectrum. Software can be able to provide transparency, better peace of mind to both ends of the spectrums, not just the younger ones, but also to the older ones too, if you do it right.
Got it. Yes. Okay. I think I understand now. So this was also one of my challenges. I had clients that had a variety of different skill levels with tech. And I find that a lot of firms, they'll implement some sort of new online system or portal, and then they'll just expect the clients to figure it out. And that's not going to happen. So you've got to have a plan to train your clients. And I had separated out my team so that I had dedicated onboarding staff, and they were also training. So if I had a new system that we put into place, then Kirk, my onboarding guy, his only job was setting up systems, would schedule time to work with the client. Maybe they need half an hour or an hour to teach them how this new system worked. So we're not only accounting professionals, we're also teachers, right? And we teach by interpreting the numbers. We also teach by helping make people successful on technology. So, I mean, you can actually make that a selling point of your firm, right? We will help you figure out how to do all this stuff, and we'll also make it easier for you to work with your other professionals. Because I'm a big advocate for the accountants being the hub where all the data comes, and then everyone else comes to that hub to get it, like all the other professionals. So, if I make it easier for you to work with your lawyer because I've set up this, file sharing system, and I can give them access to certain folders, I now I own the data, right? I'm helping you, making it easier for you to work with other people. That's sort of like an extension of this whole referral relationship, right? Where I, as the accountant, become your first person you call, and then you ask me for recommendations, and I help set you up with a network of professionals that can help you out.
And that's a tenet of our program, Blake, is a holistic wealth management strategy, and whether that's having a tech-enabled provider or collaborating with another service professional, being that center of influence and guiding that client in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, so I got my start in tutoring, academic tutoring. I was not an accounting major. I was like a music major. And so I had to make a career change. So I got into tutoring. I was tutoring SAT. And
What
that taught
company
me-
were you with? I have friends in that space.
I was with this small company that you've never heard of in Florida, and we tutored high net worth children of high net worth individuals who would come down for the equestrian riding season.
Ah,
So we were high end tutoring. We would go to their houses, we would help them through their courses, which they were doing remotely. And um, so I ended up doing the bookkeeping for that company because the bookkeeper quit one day, and that's how I got into accounting.
no way.
But I was an educator first, right? Being a musician, I was teaching
Uh-huh.
music, then I was teaching academics, and so I've always sort of combined those two things. That when you're a numbers guy, if you really want to be an effective numbers guy, you've got to be a teacher too, because most people are intimidated by the numbers. I'm sure in your business, wealth management, people are so scared about how am I going to save for retirement, translating all of these complicated instruments that they have to achieve their goals, like
Mhm.
helping them see that path. I see some effective like financial planners do this really, really well. And I have a financial planner myself. And we do this analysis every year of here's all my stuff and here's the risk profile I'm in based on that. And the chance I'm going to hit my goal, right? And it's a lot of complicated stuff and it would take a long time, but he uses technology to automate a lot of this. And it gives me a lot of confidence, right? That's what I'm buying. So
And we
uh,
try to demystify a lot of wealth management services in our program and in teaching our accounting firms that you're just a step away from being able to adopt a lot of these services through technology. Kind of shifting gears here, Blake. Something that is daunting for many people, which is cryptocurrencies. I know you've had Dr. Sean Stein Smith on your podcast talking about crypto. What do you think about this crypto craze that's going on out there?
so people who have invested early have done really well. I have doubts about cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, as like a long-term viable investment, just because it has no intrinsic value. And so like ultimately, like long term, its value is zero, in my opinion. How long that's going to take is nobody knows. So, and the reason I have that opinion is that like Bitcoin is just one of an infinite number of potential cryptocurrencies, and it's got a lot of downsides, right? It's the first one. It's old technology. It's very expensive to run it, and so if something else better comes along, then perhaps Bitcoin will not be the primary uh, store of value. So my feeling is I'm not like a crypto skeptic. I'm a Bitcoin skeptic in the long term, if that makes any sense. Um, and it's just everything's so unpredictable. Like people putting large amounts of money into cryptocurrency, it just seems crazy to me, like from a risk standpoint. But maybe that's just because I'm a CPA and I'm generally risk averse. I don't know. Like, there's so much we could talk about when it comes to cryptocurrency. But I'd love to know what you guys think. To me, it has a lot of the crazy speculation bubble elements of so many other historical bubbles. The
Yeah.
tulip craze in the Netherlands is
.com.
one, right? The .com boom. Like when you have like random 16-year-olds getting into crypto on their phones
Yeah.
and investing their like allowance in that, like to me, that seems like something might be wrong. It kind of reminds me of when I lived in Florida during the housing bubble. And, I was working at Starbucks and one of my fellow baristas bought a house. Like that to me was like a leading indicator that there was a problem.
Yeah, no, we had a Dr. Stein on as well. We did a great podcast with him on it, and he made a really excellent point to our listeners, which is there's a real big difference between blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
And blockchain technologies can be really, really useful in a lot of common day activities. And cryptocurrencies, you're speculating a whole lot, like you said, something that may not ultimately have any value. I know Dogecoin is one
Right.
that's, really popular.
Dogecoin is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, so the value, I'm sorry, I just have to go on my,
Let's go. No, go.
okay. So Bitcoin, at least there is a limited supply of it, but according to the algorithm, Dogecoin has an unlimited supply. So if people keep mining it, there will be infinite amounts of it, which will make it worthless. Like it is a joke. I mean, it was created as a joke. And yet what is the market cap of Dogecoin right now? It's something ridiculous. So
Yeah, it's
go figure.
It's crazy. But I guess in that line too, do you see blockchain technology changing the accounting practice in some form or fashion? If it's being able to simultaneously record those transactions, integrate them into your financial plan. Do you see that as a kind of potential part of the future?
Oh yeah. Payments in especially, right? Being able to clear payments instantaneously. Somebody's going to figure out how to do that really well. I mean, right now it's already happening with international payments. There's all these companies that use blockchain on the back end to make that cheaper. I think TransferWise is a good example of one. So it's putting pressure on the banks to lower their fees, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, any situation like, for instance, one I heard about that's a great use case is music royalties, or any situation where you got to pay royalties in a marketplace. There's like an army of people who just manipulate spreadsheets to do that, and it takes a long time. So like my father-in-law is in the music industry, and he received royalty payments for like 20 years, and he'll tell you it can take like years to start getting those royalty payments. A lot of it's just the delays in processing it. So, and then they have all these payments where they can't even find the people, right? So they're just sitting there in some account. With blockchain, you could automate that. Whenever somebody buys a song or listens to a song, you take these micropayments and they automatically go to all the right wallets. So that's pretty neat. Could really like make a lot of complicated businesses like that a lot easier. Probably like investors too, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing smart contracts in a lot of investments. Like, I don't know, what you guys probably know more than I do, but when people invest in like apartment buildings and you've got like hundreds of investors, right? Getting them all paid out is probably an enormous task. And what if you could just
absolutely.
Yeah.
And, just at the very confirm level for when somebody reinvests their dividend,
Yep.
there has to be a custodian, and there is a trade confirm that's created that's sent to about 400 different accountants that all bookkeep that and check it versus various records to ultimately have that be put into the tax form that is ultimately correct. And so a lot of that efficiency is, we see the benefits of some of that, hopefully down the road.
And those people, right, that aspect of the job is all just middlemen, right? We're just middlemen of this information. So if you can make it flow automatically, ultimately it will create more opportunity for everyone because it just lowers the cost of doing business. And that's really exciting, right? It's like when I don't know, a good example is just like the whole world of bookkeeping, taking it from this like manual ledger-based system to online and to software-based and automated, grew the economy dramatically. And now there's more jobs for accountants than we can fill. So I guess to go back to that point about like AI and automation, it's like, let's automate that low level work, right? Let's manage these systems. It's exciting to be able to do more stuff. I mean, just 10 years ago, I was a bookkeeper keying in transactions in order to do books for clients. That's what I got paid to do, $20 an hour, keying in transactions, producing some financial reports, emailing them. And I was able to, through automation, make my fee, I think, toward the end of my freelance career, it was $100 an hour because I'd automated 80% of the work. So I could charge 5 times more. And then I was doing a whole lot more for them. I was helping them with their inventory systems and all sorts of like fun stuff that I never got to do before.
Yeah. And you know what, speaking on, being able to do more here, Blake, now you're a director of marketing at Giraffe. What is your advice to these accounting firms out there in terms of marketing and how they can market their firm?
There is so much opportunity at most accounting firms to do better marketing.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is changing your mindset about who you're actually marketing to. Most accountants think of marketing and think of prospects, people they don't know yet. But at an accounting firm, you already have a client list, and these are people who are coming back to you again and again, or they should be, and they don't know half of what you do. They may not even know 80% of what your firm can do, depending on the size of it. And most accounting firms, they don't tell their clients what they do. So my first advice to most firms is when they talk about marketing, I say, okay, what does your CRM look like? And then they say, what's a CRM? And then I know that we have to start from square one, right? Which is get all your customers into a database. We call that a customer relationship management system. And we got to tag them. We got to figure out who they are. We got to segment them. And then we've got to start being in touch with them, like communicating with them on a weekly, monthly basis, letting them know what we do, success stories of services we've offered. So that's where I start with a lot of firms, is just have a touch point with them via email. Email marketing is still incredibly lucrative, right? And it's crazy. It's a 30-year-old technology, but people ignore it and they go after something splashy like Facebook and LinkedIn, and they don't get good results and they wonder why. And so, yeah, that's what I would do. If I went into most accounting firms, I'd probably look at their CRM, clean it up, and create some marketing campaigns, email marketing campaigns, right? Get people aware of what you do. And you could like create one for a year, like one email every month. So you're only writing 12 emails. Each one's on a different topic, something that you do, features a customer success story, maybe links to a blog post you wrote. And you can just run that over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in our AFO Wealth Management Forward, we talk about this through the course. Yeah, I mean, you just outlined like 3 of the modules. We talk about the CRM and we talk about the segmentation. And, we went out and did a bunch of market research from accounting firms before we launched the program. And the thing that was abundantly clear was majority of accounting firms don't understand marketing in today's internet kind of digital world. And 2 was that a lot of them understood that they were maybe not communicating enough with their client base, but they thought they were communicating okay. And the reality was they weren't communicating nearly enough at all. And so as part of some of these things that we talk to accounting firms about how they can really elevate their practice, be it by incorporating maybe financial planning or partnering a financial planning firm, or incorporating retirement planning as a byproduct of their services. Before we even get into any of those things, we talk to them, how can they elevate their practice today? And, integrating some of those strategies you just talked about.
Great example on that
website.
is
things like that.
I've seen some great examples of, firms that will message their clients in the fourth quarter, like November is a great time, October is better. Here's a list of things that people commonly do to get ready to make sure that, they've gotten everything buttoned up for taxes, right? Like these are the things you need to do by the end of the year, or it's too late.
Right.
If you have questions about any of these, just reply to this email, and it's like 10 things. And that step alone can save you so much trouble and help your clients out.
100%. And, some of these other services that we talk to accounting firms, they're a little bit hesitant and scared because they've spent so much time on their craft. But you mentioned PPP loans and, some of these things that are just timely, that are really valuable to their client base. Another area that we've seen that accountants have really been able to help their clients and also get a bunch of new customers, all-time low interest rates. All of their clients have mortgages, and just a simple conversation of, hey, interest rates are really low. Do you have a long-term mortgage? Are you thinking maybe you'd want to refi? Let us have a conversation. And, if those are 30-year fixed, debt obligations, you're potentially saving your client hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is a real value add. And we think can be a really sticky, just kind of caring type of value service, even just asking the question, not that you have to facilitate that, but just asking it.
Well, and if you can do something like that, like where with just letting them know about this opportunity, you save them tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, then they're never going to question your fees, right?
Right.
It's like you've created value there. Um, like I had a situation where I had a bad, financial product that I'd purchased, and my financial planner figured out long term what that would cost me versus switching to this other thing, and
Mhm.
showed me the number, and I'll stick with him forever because of that, right?
Right.
Because like his fees are dwarfed by the savings that I've gotten over the course of my life. So I think actually financial planners and wealth managers have gotten pretty good at that. And we as accountants can learn a lot. It's um it's showing like the total value of the
Yeah.
relationship, right? So it's a
Just
good
from
thing
our
you guys are.
presentation, kind of what you spoke about in the beginning of our time here, Blake, presenting the future. Accountants historically just been not good at representing, the value. You're
Yep.
kind of backwards looking, looking at a tax return. What financial planners and wealth managers, what we're able to do is, forecast that future. The
Yep.
long-term financial well-being, whether that's in projections and financial plans, it's something that the client really can grasp onto and look into the future and see, what their life could be.
Yeah, 100%, right? It's about, well, and here's what good planners do is they have conversations about goals with their
Yes.
clients, right? If you don't know what your client's goal is and you just make assumptions, then how can you possibly be delivering the services that they need to hit those goals? You're not, right? You're just doing a thing that they need done. It's very different. So I always when I teach people about financial planning and analysis, so not financial planning individually, but for the business, it's the same thing. At the root. It's about, let's have a
Mm.
conversation about your long-term goals. So where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years? And then we'll craft a long-term plan to help you get there. That involves a financial forecast for your business. Then we create an annual operating plan. That's a 12-month budget. And that is going to control all of your, capital, your workforce, your other resources to help you achieve that annual objective. And then we do reporting on a monthly basis. We see plan versus actuals. We see where we're at, and we update our forecast and change our plan if we need to. Like I'm
Yeah.
sure that's it's like the same thing, right? We just
Yeah.
we just use different terms for it, but on the individual and the business side, very similar.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about this with accounting firms. Is like you just said, a lot of this work, a lot of accountants already are doing, either for a corporation, business level,
Yep.
or even one of their largest clients. And those worlds between the financial planning and the really comprehensive tax planning are really starting to overlap quite a lot. And the software is starting to overlap and speak to each other, which we think is just really powerful.
Yeah, I wish it worked better
Yeah.
together, right? That's the problem. Like we still have this situation where most tax software is desktop based and can't integrate with the popular accounting packages to pull in data. Like, why is this? This is just ridiculous that we have this situation, right? When I can implement like a sales tax solution that just pulls all of my transactions and calculates all of my liabilities and pays the authorities, that's amazing, right? We have Avalara and TaxJar doing that, but we can't get CCH and ProConnect to like talk to our QuickBooks files, right? In a way that's efficient.
Yeah.
it's
Uh,
it's really amazing. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's a
it
gap.
it really is. We kind of act like Switzerland with our wealth management forward program because we utilize so many different software providers that we're providing as part of kind of the full suite here, and through that we think we've made some beautiful marriages. Because the software provider kind of looks over at the other one and says, "Well, you look pretty good. Maybe we should share data and go and then hopefully they turn into beautiful long-term relationships." But it is amazing to us as well that that hasn't been going as fast as it could. But we see a lot
We'll
of
get
hope on the
there.
horizon.
We'll get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, we'll get there. It's only been like 10 years since cloud has really been viable as like a cloud only strategy for your firm. That's at least my experience of it, right? We've kind of had to hack it together before that. And now I see firms starting where it's like, I'm not going to use any desktop stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
You can't stop progress.
that's right. Once people have a taste of it, right? It's like this whole remote work thing, right? Now that half the population has worked from home, half of them want to keep doing it forever. So, we're going to have like 25% of professionals who never work in an office. That's crazy to think about. It's going to change career trajectories. It's going to change how we work with clients. It's, our firms are going to be different. So yeah, there's going to be long-term impacts from all this.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Rob and I are in the office together, so we just like each other too much. So
It's like 3 dogs that you've probably seen in the
yeah.
back.
Oh,
We got 2
that's
labs
great.
right there.
Yeah.
You're bringing the home to the office.
We are.
There you go. That's great.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Blake. We covered a bunch of topics here: AI, marketing, crypto, music royalties.
Yeah, this is
client
fun. Thank
retention.
you.
Can you let our audience know, how best to get a hold of you?
Yes. So I have a personal website at blakeoliver.com, and you can subscribe to my email list. You can learn about my podcast. I have a podcast called the Cloud Accounting Podcast, at the intersection of accounting and technology. It's a weekly show. It's the #1 podcast for accountants and bookkeepers in the world. And we have listeners mostly in the US, but also UK, Australia. We try to cover everything that's going on in the accounting tech space, with a focus on people doing outsourced bookkeeping, client accounting services, whatever you want to call it, because that's a huge area of growth right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Blake T. Oliver. That's T as in taxes. And my parents didn't actually name me that, but I like to say that. Yeah. So
Great.
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, we'll put all that information in the show notes as well. We look forward to speaking with you again here, Blake. This is great.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me
Really
on.
appreciate
Yeah.
the time, Blake. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All opinions expressed by Rob Santos and Rory Henry on this website podcast interview are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Arrowroot Family Office LLC or their parent company or affiliates, and may have been previously disseminated on television, radio, internet, or another medium. You should not treat any opinion expressed by anyone as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinions. Past performance is not indicative of future results.